call to order and confirm immediate or appropriate meeting notice.
Yes.
Okay. Approval of agenda.
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Agenda approved. Any public participation? Okay, we'll move on. There is no old business. And so the one item under new business was to discuss possible action regarding the agreement for administrative services between Milton and Edgerton for the assistance with scheduling services. You received an attachment from Chief Pickering, and then we have Jenny to discuss what that entails, because some of that has already started. Jenny, do you want to start talking about that so there's a better understanding what that means?
Yes. What I'm doing right now is helping Chief Pickering and Edgerton with their scheduling service, which is a system we used to use called a lad tech for scheduling. And since Chief Russ had left, there was nobody there to help him out. So since I knew the system, he asked if I would. I sometimes spend an hour on it, hour and a half. There's some days if the schedule is filled, I don't have to do anything. I just log in. It's an internet system, so I can just check at any time. So it's never really more. So it's average hour to hour and a half a day, nothing over that.
You know, at the time I had, we couldn't wait because we weren't able to go ahead with it at the earlier meeting in March. And so we went ahead to start it and then said we would discuss it when we had the closed meeting for Jeremy at the end of March. This would be something that the commission budget would pay directly to Edgerton. It would not become a part of payroll system. Does anybody have any questions about what this involves or?
A couple of questions. Jenny, this is the same scheduling software or system that we have?
No, we used to use it. We no
Oh.
longer use it anymore, but I'm familiar with it. That's why he asked me, because Milton used to use it. We use a different system now.
Is this something that you've been talking to Ruth about, Randy's wife?
Yes, because they asked me at the same time to also do run all their payroll reports and get all that stuff ready. But I had told them at the time, I don't have enough time for that in my day because it's a lot more. So that's where Ruth came on board, and Ruth is going to do all that. All I'm going to do is schedule everyone just like I do here in Milton. They're full-time and they're paid on premise and stuff like that.
So the anticipation is that we would compensate Jenny hourly for the time she spends on this with the Edgerton Fire Protection District?
Yes.
Edgerton would pay.
Edgerton would pay.
Correct.
Okay. So they would compensate Milton. So Jenny would be on Milton's payroll for this.
No.
Right.
They'd
It
on
would be
Edgerton
just
payroll?
to compensate the Milton Fire Commission. It does not fall under payroll. It's just that's my understanding.
How is Jenny compensated for this effort?
Edgerton is paying her.
Edgerton is not paying me at this time. What they said is if I could fit this into my schedule, that they would compensate the Joint Fire Commission for my time in there.
I think that this is a perfect opportunity for all of us to continue to work together. And actually, I think that this is a great idea. I have no problem with it. My concern would be Jenny. I feel like this is her schedule. She works for us, yes, but still, this is in addition to what she's doing for us. And so I just believe that it's something that she needs to feel comfortable about, and we need to kind of just take her lead.
I have zero concern with it, other than this is an example of Beth not reading the letter accurately. In my mind, I feel that Jenny should be an employee of the Edgerton Fire District and compensated as such, because what I read was that in anticipation of the role that we will be playing ongoing, that Jenny would then become an employee of the fire district. And so to me, that's where I would go with it. But I only because I want Jenny to be compensated. I don't think that it's appropriate for us to ask her to help in this respect, but then not be compensated, if that makes sense.
So this sounds similar to how we manage the school resource officers for Milton. The school resource officers, they'll do work at prom or something else, or our officers will. They track their time on their timesheets, and then we send an invoice to the school district for those hours, and then we're reimbursed for that. Jenny, is that kind of how this is going to work, or is it going to be a different process?
I think Chief Pickering was kind of open for discussion, how it wanted to be handled, of how he wanted to take care of that. I understand how that would work.
When I discuss this with him, though, we need to be careful not to consider Jenny an employee of Edgerton and make decisions before they're already made for us. We have not been approved.
No,
for-
I understand that, but she is an employee of Edgerton at this point by doing that. I mean, I understand that she's offering services, but
Well, let's
But
take a scenario. Let's take a
Up to
scenario.
her, though. I mean, isn't it really up to her if that's what she wants to do? She
Well,
understands, and it is very early. We have not been accepted by the fire district yet.
understood.
So, but she's not, I don't believe that she's taking anything but her own personal experience from our department to whatever she wants to do on her time. But I understand that we need to have a little bit of information. Probably Kelsey could explain why we might need some accounting regulations.
So let me give a scenario. I fully support this relationship completely. But let's just say we were sitting where we are 10 years ago, and they had asked Jenny to be involved with their system, not knowing any long-term relationships at all. It would likely look like we'd be okay with her also working for the Edgerton Fire Protection District, and they would compensate her. She'd be an employee of them. And potentially moving forward, that may be what she will be, is an employee of a larger district, if that works out. So I think it seems cleaner and easier from not only a responsibility and a liability, but a directive on those hours we understand she would be committed to over there, that her relationship is with Edgerton at that, for these hours. Does that make sense?
No,
No?
I don't understand either. I'm sorry, Brian, but I did want to hear if there's any bookkeeping or accounting that we as a commission will need to be concerned about from Kelsey.
No, I think like Inga mentioned, it sounds just like the school resource officer set up will set an amount with her hourly wage plus fringe benefits, and she'll just have to keep track of her time, and we would invoice them for that hourly rate. We can do it on a monthly basis is usually what we do the school. So
Yeah.
I don't
So
think it's
then-
any different.
Not to beat a dead horse here, Kelsey, but so then we invoice them, and then Jenny is reimbursed. We're reimbursing her.
No, so
Or
we
just-
pay the full regular amount that Jenny's paid on every payroll. And then we take whatever Jenny provides us, those hours, say it's 5 hours for the month of, what month are we in? March.
March.
Then we'll take those 5 hours and charge at the full charge out rate for her position. So that's wages plus fringe benefits to the Edgerton Fire Protection District. And then we'll
Right.
recoup those funds, put them back into the account.
What is
So
it?
if Jenny,
Oh,
but if Jenny is already working full-time for us, then the hour, I want to hear from Jenny. Are you feeling that this will impact your job at all for Milton, Jenny, in the fact that you would still be an employee fully at Milton, but potentially working more than your full-time position?
Right, I do, but there are some weeks where it's like maybe I'm working 5 hours and I jump on day and night for both schedules for Milton and Edgerton because I have to watch them both 24/7. But if there is a week where I have other things to do in Milton and I don't have the 5 hours in there, for sure I would let you know that it's taking up too much time. But that's why I said I wouldn't do any of the other stuff because I don't have the time to do like running all the payroll reports. I do not have time to do that over there, but I will have time to do help with their schedule.
Does Jeremy, do you have any concerns about this?
Start off by saying I'm sorry I'm late. I had some technical difficulties, but I think we got that taken care of. Like I said, I would have to agree with you guys. I think as long as Jenny thinks she can handle it in a timely manner, yeah, I don't have any issues with it. And I agree the right thing to do would be to bill, Edgerton Fire Protection District for whatever time that she puts into it. So I'm okay with it.
I mean, even if this, even if the agreement with Edgerton is approved, the fire services, we're still in what we do through 2022. So it's not that we're waiting for 2 weeks to approve this and we're wasting our time coming up with something that's only going to last 2 weeks. We're still talking about the rest of this year. So we need to put into an agreement something that's going to take place.
I know there are others that would like to jump in here, and I'm very sorry for kind of butting in line here, but I just want to refer to the reason that I pointed that out was because of what Chief Pickering had put in his letter. That was my rationale for it, that it was a potential ongoing relationship. And so that's why I pointed that out. But then I also felt that it would be a cleaner job for Jenny if she were strictly an employee at Edgerton, not whether it's ongoing or not, just as a business owner looking at the cleanness of it. I realize that the city has relationships with other entities, and so this is something that you're used to, but I'm looking at it to be a cut and dried situation for Jenny. To do scheduling for 2 entities, my gosh, I don't want to do scheduling for one. I mean, that's a lot of work for her. So this would be over and above, and I'm just making sure that this is in Jenny's best interest.
I'm thinking that going the direction of the chargeback initially is a good idea, simply because it's probably the simplest way to go at this point. That doesn't mean that we can't come back and revisit this. So I think what we do is we say to Jenny, let us know how this is working out and whether it's too much. And if at some point Jenny is crying uncle, then she's got the option of saying, either I need to get paid more for this, and if she's going to get paid more for it, then I think that's the time to consider whether or not she's got a part-time job with Edgerton in addition to her full-time job with Milton. So I think for simplicity's sake, we can try this. We've got a model, we know how it can work. We go ahead and use it and just ask for Jenny to provide us with the feedback as to whether or not it's an issue, and Jeremy to provide with his assessment of whether it's working out. And we revisit it 3 months from now and, see where we're at.
So I do have some concern with Jenny performing liable work for the Edgerton Fire Protection District as a Milton Fire employee, but whatever the commission is in favor of doing. But I'd like to offer a motion to move forward with this, if I could. It's a little bit lengthy. But if Jenny, if you could take this motion down, I would move to authorize Jenny Lucas to assist the Edgerton Fire Protection District with scheduling services for routine scheduling of personnel. I'll let you catch up. Learning about the EFPD systems and offer advice and input. And that initial commitments for these services are not anticipated to exceed an average of $1.5 per day, and shall not create an unreasonable burden upon Milton Fire responsibilities. That motion doesn't address compensation in any way whatsoever. That's my motion. And maybe we can
I don't
resolve.
agree.
Maybe we can resolve the compensation issue yet, but
Just my opinion, but I think we're making it more complicated than it is. At this point, I think what this is about is something very limited. This isn't an internship to Edgerton. In some ways it will serve as that, but basically it's Edgerton saying, help us with a process. If there's some side benefits to that as far as eventual integration, that's great. But for now, I think it's a set process that they're asking for and that Jenny would be delivering.
Yeah,
So,
she's
was there a
learning a
second?
new,
I can't hear you.
Was there a second, Teresa?
No. Let's get a second and then we can discuss it.
I'll second it.
Okay, is there any discussion?
So
she's
we
not
also-
learning their system. She's teaching them the system that they already have because she knows it. She's not learning their system. And this is only through 2022. And I just would like to point out to you all that Edgerton Fire District knows what their insurances will accept in this type of a situation. And I personally think that there's just way too much discussion here. If Jenny wants to do this job, go for it. Do we need to keep track of it? Of course we need to keep track of it. We do have audits. So yeah, we do have to keep track of it. But I did have another question for Kelsey, and that is, does this put any more time on you?
Yeah, I'll have to do all the billing for it. It shouldn't take that long, but I don't know who is planning on tracking the hours, how the hours are getting to us to bill out to them. It'll probably be minimal, but it will be work each month, so.
In response to the motion, I believe that Brian is referring to the second to the last paragraph that says that we believe that if the discussion of Milton joining the Edgerton Fire Protection District in the future were to move forward, starting to have Ms. Lucas learn about our systems. I believe that's where he got that from.
Okay.
So just referring to that. I, for one, feel that the motion in itself is good, but I would like to have some sort of an address to the compensation within the motion, but that's neither here nor there at this point.
So there's several things I was trying to accomplish with the motion. It wasn't just to satisfy the commission, but our responsibilities, liable wise and an answer to Edgerton. So it's a reasonably understood agreement with Edgerton. It shows them how we understand this agreement to be.
Should it be two motions instead of one? If you're gonna do that type of a motion where it's all inclusive, should we do the bookkeeping in a separate, the bookkeeping and the time and the pay, should we keep that a separate motion? Just a question.
I was also going to say, I wanted Jenny to understand how we understand this relationship as well. So this motion addresses several entities and purposes, but
Okay, let's go ahead and vote on this motion and then we can decide if it passes or.
Jenny, can you read it back to us?
I was just gonna ask Brian if he had that, were you reading it from somewhere, Brian?
yep,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. Can you send me your exact motion?
Yeah, I can send it back to you in an email, but I'll quickly read it again. I read it slow
In the
earlier.
That's
My motion was to authorize Jenny Lucas to assist the Edgerton Fire Protection District with scheduling services for routine scheduling of personnel, learning about EFPD systems, and offer advice and input. Initial commitments for these services are not anticipated to exceed an average of 1.5 hours per day and shall not create an unreasonable burden upon Milton Fire responsibilities.
Okay.
how many hours do we have with Jenny right now as a department? I mean, how many hours a day does Milton pay?
Jenny, do you like do it 5 or 6 hours a day? What do you do now typically?
Oh, mute.
In Milton?
Yeah,
I'm 40 hours in Milton already.
okay.
Based on Beth pointing out where this was coming from, I can vote for this. I think it's fine.
Okay,
Mhm.
all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion passes.
Hi,
I
John.
think we do need to resolve the compensation issue and make that clear to everybody, all of the entities.
I would move that we approve the chargeback system for the time being and revisit it in 3 months' time.
second,
All in favor?
Can we have some discussion, Teresa?
Yes.
Only because knowing that that Jenny has 40 hours in Milton, that would put her into an overtime situation. So
I
I don't
thought
know if
this
she's-
was cutting it less in Milton.
Is that what
you
you're gonna
weren't-
do, Jenny?
Oh,
You aren't planning on 41.5 hours. Or 47? Are you planning on overtime every week? I thought this was cutting into your Milton time.
You're still muted, Jenny.
no, the understanding is that it wouldn't.
That it would not cut into my time.
Okay.
What I'm going to restructure everything in Milton. And if there's something that, working with Jeremy, if there's something that somebody else can do or streamline something, I'm not
So it would still be a 40-hour week.
correct.
Correct. Okay.
Plus this Edgerton time.
No,
No,
Yes.
no.
No, so she's
including
not,
The two together would be 40 hours still.
So like 35 hours Milton time, 5 hours Edgerton time. And if there's a situation during a week where Jenny ends up having overtime or something, we can bill that to Edgerton too. So
Right.
we just need to be in communication to make sure that we're billing Edgerton appropriately.
Correct.
thank
Okay.
you.
So my earlier motion was that it would not create an unreasonable burden on the Milton Fire responsibilities And if she can't do her job in Milton in less than 40 hours, that appears unreasonable.
I think that both Jeremy, I don't want to speak for them, but I think that both Jeremy and Jenny have agreed upon that this would be able to be restructured. Brian.
I just haven't seen that.
Would you like to see Jenny come back at our next meeting and show us how she has worked the schedule? Would that make you feel better, Brian?
Well, I think we've addressed it with my earlier motion. And if we find out that that needs to be revisited, I guess there's an avenue for that already.
So we don't have to talk particulars here for this motion. We can just agree that then between Kelsey and Jenny and Jeremy, that this would all be billed out accordingly, right?
Right.
Can I ask, is Edgerton in the loop? Are they okay being billed for these hours? Was that part of I didn't get the document from Chief, so I'm not sure, but are they
Yes.
okay being billed these hours?
Yes, he fully understands that they would be billed these hours.
Okay.
And at the full charge out rate, that includes wages plus the fringe benefits.
Yes.
So I don't know, Kelsey, if we want to kind of do the same thing like we do with city staff for the charge out rates, and then maybe send that to him to make sure that they're all okay with it, unless Jenny, you guys had already talked about a rate.
We did not talk a specific rate. No.
Okay.
That's
I can,
one.
Why don't the three of you come back at our next meeting and give us this information after you've gotten together, and maybe Jeremy might have some things to add to it. I think the important motion has been made here that Jenny can, I just feel like it might be easy.
I think if we wait for your next meeting to set the rate for Edgerton, Jenny may have put quite a few
Yeah,
hours in at that point.
If you could give me the rate, Kelsey.
Yep, I'll have to work the rate up. I should be able to do it today
And
yet, but I can email a
If
rate
you
out
could-
so everybody will be aware.
Okay, if you can just send it to me, I'll get a hold of Chief and we'll get that okayed. So I'll have it and send it back to everyone. Okay,
Great.
all right. Thank you.
There's a motion on the floor yet on compensation.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
One opposed? Is that correct, Brian?
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. Yes.
Okay. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. At this time, if someone would like to read the consideration of closed session. Bill?
I gotta pull it up here if I'm gonna do it. Hold on.
Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I would move that we convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute, section 19.85, sub 1, sub C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility regarding staff positions.
I'll second
second.
that.
Any general items?
Sorry.
Just that, so Jenny, you'd like me to text or email you that motion I made that I read?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I'll email that to you exactly as I read it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Our next scheduled meeting is April 20th at 6 p.m. live at the council chambers in person. Is there a
Who's
motion?
bringing cookies?
What? Okay.
Who's bringing cookies?
Oh, who can bake? Okay. Motion to adjourn.
I'd move we adjourn.
Okay, Bill, move to adjourn, Linda second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved. See
Thank
you
you all.
on the 20th. Thank
Hi,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.